Okay, so let's first dive a bit in the high time frame, because like last week we made those crazy pumps across the board. But on the high time frame, the picture is still pretty clean. I still see this as an accumulation range, this right here. So we can just pull basically our range from the low to that high, and then this is until proven otherwise our range that price is in, with here range low, range high, and then within that range we had this crazy chop where price now clearly broke out upwards of. So this is our accumulation range. Basically this whole zone on a retest should be until proven otherwise a bullish range. So if we retest it, it's likely that you form the higher low for a higher high. And then we have some refined levels in it. So this whole box is basically range demand, but yeah, this internal chop that was for like 5 weeks or so, that's the more refined level. So here we can see that we had this last chop before that massive breakup. So this is the refined demand. However, as you can see, those levels are pretty deep for retest, because that's a decline of, let's see, like 60 to 70%, which is not unthinkable of, but if you look at the price action like this, very seldom you will see that you make a move like that. So oftentimes it takes a long time where price could be moving from low time frame range into a higher time frame range, and then maybe from there we deviate the highs, range high, and then eventually get a move back, and then retest that level, and then eventually make the higher low for a higher high. So I don't think we will retest this range demand anytime soon. So until proven otherwise, I think market is just full bull, and we are likely to take out the range high sooner or later. But personally, I just see it as a range until proven otherwise, which means that the closer you get to the range highs, the less attractive your RR becomes. And if we simply deviate the highs, move back, then we have to be aware of potential range deviations, and that we can get moves back into the range. So oftentimes Bitcoin likes to make huge moves to wipe out a lot of people and create either fear by moving down or euphoria by moving up. But eventually it always starts forming new ranges. And that is what we have seen over the past weekend with, let's make this a bit more right, where price formed the high on Friday and then formed our range, and this is basically the range we have been watching to play, where the edge also comes more into play, because we can see that the moment Bitcoin started to pull off right here, it has basically been in an up only mode, not anything to trade locally except just joining the trend. But that's another strategy, not what I apply. So right now we do have our range, and we are having pretty solid price action in this range. So first we had a range high, range low, and then tap of the mid range, where you can look, do you deviate the highs or the lows for potential distribution or accumulation models. And then we saw that price right here sold off pretty hard, like quite a lot of selling came into it. We mitigated this demand, saw a buyback, and then a move back up. This is basically what you want to see in bullish trends, is just sweep the range lows, accept back in the range, and then oftentimes that can already be enough to get a rotation back to your range high. But preferably you still get like for a high probability model, a third tap. However, if you are truly bullish, oftentimes this can already be enough to tap demand, take liquidity, and then accept back in the range. And especially if it aligns with local order flow, because here we can nicely see that, what was that move? Right here. So this was that move, basically creating that second tap. And you can also see that right here, aggressive selling, so negative delta, came in, which shows that there's a lot of selling pressure, which can be either people shorting it, selling it, or longs getting stopped out and then turning into a sell order. But what follows right after is that instead of breaking down, it's being absorbed and price accepts back in the range, and from there we started to rotate back into the range. However, you still need like triggers as always, because right now the market is moving, and you see everyone posted wins and stuff like that, and then it's easy to think, okay, we are now in another trading environment, so I'm just gonna abandon all my trading rules, and that's the worst thing you can do, because then you are playing with like not a strategy anymore. Then you're just going to play basically a new strategy, which in my opinion is not what you want to do. So this deviation was nice, but I did not trade it because we simply did not have a local trigger, and it was only a 2-tap. If we had a structured move down here and then broke it and then broke that back to bullish, then you can consider, okay, this may be already deviation before rotation back to the high, then I want to get in. Or you wait for the break of structure and then for the higher low to be formed, break that back to bullish, and then you have like basically your model 2. And how I treat it myself is that market is now more volatile, more bullish, so then your model 2 or your model 1 doesn't have to be picture perfect. Your higher low can be a bit higher as normally, because not the extreme demand has to be mitigated, but sometimes just a tap is already enough. But still I want to get my low time frame structure confirmations, because that is the system I trade. And now it's easy to abandon your system because you think you need to catch up and make money because everyone is making money, is what you think. But in my opinion, you're playing then a very dangerous game, because sooner or later the market will turn around again, and then you are all of a sudden in a trade and you don't have any idea what kind of trade it basically is. So personally, I was looking for the model 2 to mitigate this extreme demand, tap into that, break structure back to bullish, and then play basically the model 2 or the deviation setup. 1 deviation, retest, 3 tap. Instead, we did not get it, so we already pushed higher right now. But you should not make yourself crazy for missing out or anything, because we will get ranges. Like, this is already the range, and we know where the trades basically present itself, which is at the range highs and at the range lows. And this is basically all internal price action. So watching the 1 minute here, it is dangerous because it can feel like you are missing out, but the same rules as we always apply still stand true, which is we want to look at trades at the range extreme right there and range extreme right here, and preferably we don't diddle in the middle. So we don't want to get involved in the middle, because that's where choppy price action is and it's easy to get lost. So the good thing is that we have now solid volatility, so the rotations from range low to range high back to range low will come more often, which means that we have much more trading opportunities. But you should not mistake in that we have increased volatility so that you can enter random trades here just because you think we will go up. It can work, but yeah, it's just not the strategy. So that was what I want to say. What we do have locally is though that we had this local internal range, and you know how I think about internal ranges. They can work, but your triggers need to be clean. But this was like a pretty clean internal range, which eventually ended up as a model 2 reaccumulation, but not with a entry trigger. So we had here an internal range. With an internal range, I always directly think it's internal, while the main POIs of the bigger range are resting below and above. So then you want to just keep in mind, I'm watching an internal range, which is different from like the main range. But here we deviated the high, deviated the low, so then we can look for the third tap. And here we basically came into the range low with structure. So let's pull it from here, low, lower high, lower low. Okay, internally with high, lower low. So basically here we broke internal already back to bullish balls. So then we can look for the model 2. because we have that internal break, so we know we have this high, internal, lower high, lower low, break. At that point we can look for the higher low, for the higher high, instead of a model 1, because we have that bullish break. So they can map out what is my extreme demand. Well, there was not really any extreme demand in this level, only extreme liquidity, which is at this higher low. So that one was taken, perfectly, liquidity taken. However, to confirm this as your third tap, you still need to break internal structure back to bullish right here. So we did have internal structure right here on the 3 minute. I'm not sure if we have it on the lower. I don't think we had it on the lower. No. On the 1, also not. So on the 1, it's even like 1 minute structure. So right here, this was basically your confirmation that this is your third tap, and it's likely that you take out the range high, which at this point is your tap 2. However, from an RR perspective, is that really, really attractive? Invalidation target right here. So 1 to 1R. You are in a bullish market, so you could get expansion higher. So you can consider that for higher, which will be like a 2R. So this could be worth a trade, but yeah, it's not really high probability, and you are playing an internal range, so you should remember that and zoom out from time to time, because this is where choppy moves happen. And especially now that people are using high leverage to make up for missed moves and stuff like that, you can get very volatile moves. So yeah, could you have traded this? Yes. Was it high probability? No. Was the RR really attractive? No. Could you target higher? Yes, but from here we are also in supply, so we could also from here low, lower high, lower low, lower high, because we left clean supply behind here. So from here you could also go back down here. So are you going to let everything run for there or not? Or do you take profits right now and let some run? But where do you move your stop loss? Are you gonna move it to break even, which is basically at the mid range right here? So then all other things come into consideration you should think of. And if you have not traded like that before, it can become a very emotional roller coaster, where you should be aware of always. So personally, I did not trade this one, but I'm still waiting just for the main range. It's also Monday. We know Mondays are often manipulative, but my alerts are set at the range extreme, where I'm looking for potential deviations. Although we have to be very careful with shorts, because market is very bullish. So shorts are definitely the lower probability play right now, and you want to look for accumulations. So here I'm still looking for potential move into the range low for model 2, and internally, could this be a local model 2 turning into a model 1 distribution? Yeah, could happen, because we are tapping into supply. We have a 1, we have a 2, we have a 3, but again, we need to have confirmations. And if we look at the structure going into this new high, or at least daily high, with high, higher low, higher high. So the only way to confirm basically this SR, do we have local structure maybe? Yeah, okay, so we have 1 minute structure, but I would not, in a strong bullish trend, count a 1 minute break as enough to get into the shorts. So also here, could this be the local model 1? Yes. Will I short it from here? No. Purely because we have a strong move up. So first I would like then to see demand failure, or a really deep mitigation of demand. Preferably break structure, and then look if we can get a model 1 into a model 2 distribution, and then it's solid to trade. Then we have 1, 2, 3, and then that could be the move back into the range low. But again, here the triggers need to be super clean, because here it can also just be demand mitigation before higher, and I don't want to waste bullets in the internal range, while you probably get better setups at the range extremes. Right now, this demand is getting mitigated, so we can look what happens around here. So alert right there. But yeah, mainly looking just at the main range, and you can play the internal ranges, of course, but still your triggers and stuff still need to be clean. But what is super nice to see is that we have a super clean range, and even this internal range is respected very well. So there are a lot of trading opportunities. This time it was not, you could have traded it. It was a bit unfortunate where you get your confirmation and stuff. Now we potentially flow directly over into a distribution. So, and it's only Monday morning, not even New York. So there are a lot of solid trading opportunities, which we can still look to play and take advantage of. Welcome, by the way, everyone that joined afterwards. Shorts lower probability unless you're named Mike. What has Mike been shorting? Aave, oh yeah, I forgot. I have not looked at Aave, but we... Okay, so BTC is, to me, super clean. Just waiting for like a good opportunity. And locally, what is order flow doing? We can see that we have quite a lot of open interest starting to enter the market, which is basically most likely longs entering the market right now, because we have price going up, open interest going up, which is bullish. So this move looks pretty bullish as long as it keeps going up, and as long as the longs don't get too crowded, because then it can be a sign that if too many longs are starting to open and price does not move much higher, then if they get trapped, that can be the fuel to get like a rotation lower. So I'm also looking at the range high extreme right there, but also for a sweep of these internal highs. If we sweep that and then break structure with like a 3 drive, it could also offer a short trigger potentially. Other than that, it looks pretty healthy. We can look at the higher time frame. So here we can see that high we printed last week was pretty clean, but that we have poor highs at these highs. So there is also reason to clear out these highs before then potentially reversing. So that's also where I'm keeping an eye on. Other than that, this looks pretty healthy. We do have some single prints right here. Naked daily point of control at 72.7, and then basically on the low, not too much. Some imbalances, a poor high, poor low right here, but overall it looks pretty strong. And this new range, underproven otherwise, could just be a reaccumulation before higher. Which is basically the same as we making up for the missed longs. Nice. USDT, because here we have that high time frame, looks super clean, but we completed the distribution right here. So 1, 2, 3 internal break, then main break, and then a crazy violent move straight into the range lows. But we have cleared out those range lows right now, and locally we can see that after taking out the range lows, instead of this mega downtrend, price is now for the first time since the start of the trend showing that instead of a mega downtrend, price found like sideways price action. So that's already the first sign of that there is at least buying here, because this aggressive selling stopped for now at least. So price is here forming a new range where we do have, let's delete for a moment this main range, where we have like the low, the high, and here you can decide either you pull your range from low to high, which is the most valid one because we are in a downtrend. But locally you can also draw it from high to low and then see if you get internally an accumulation right here, which is what I'm looking at right now for potential early week low, which could be an early week high on BTC. Simply looking for a mitigation of this extreme demand in line with a 1, 2, 3, and that could potentially give a reversal back to the highs, and then from there unproven otherwise it could just be a new distribution being formed. But just from a high time frame perspective and chart wise, we cleared out the range lows and are now starting to form a range. The RR here for longs is better than for shorts, and of course it's a counter trend, but we are at the high time frame range lows. We are forming a range with a potential model 1 accumulation, so this is definitely something I'm keeping an eye on, although for now it does not really seem like model 1. But we can have a look at the internal structure. So here we have low, lower high, lower low. So this is our, at this point at least, our internal market structure. So alert there. The deviation threshold, let's see. Is right here. So let's see how it behaves. For now it's not really looking like, it's looking pretty bearish with these strong moves down, but we have to see. Yeah, it's still Monday, so oftentimes we get manipulation, and most often it only, like for me, the real trading day starts at New York. So then we can see what happens here, and if we for example make a new low, then instead of this high, this becomes our internal structure. So then you already get tighter or earlier your entry, or like your confirmation for the potential model 1. So that's what I'm looking at USDT. And also here just playing the rotation. So we're here with tap 1, tap 2, potentially tap 3. If we get confirmations, it could be a trigger for shorts on crypto, but then just expect a rotation back to the high. And then see what happens from there. If you distribute, that's in line with the high time frame trend, and then you can just get those rotations back and forth. Like for now this looks pretty strong, because we have a local range, model 2, break up, kind of a breakout, but we are still in the deviation threshold, but then retest the range high and directly see like a good wick, so good buyback. So then it could be that this is range, break, continuation. But have to see, it's all internal obviously. Quickly going to the other pairs is ETH with this internal range, but the main range is basically this one, high to low. So that's the main one to keep an eye on, where we did a very similar move as on BTC, a quick move down, taking liquidity, but then accepting back quickly in the range, giving a breaker structure, and then yeah, this could be now the target after this deviation. So deviate one side, go to the other side, deviate that side, go back to the other side. Just liquidity games, or we can of course also, because we are already trending, accelerate much higher. But here also main level to look at is the range extreme, so range high, and the lower part of the range. During the weekend we had like a crazy liquidity sweep, and followed by a lot of selling on BTC and ETH. Like on BTC it was not too heavy. On ETH it also was like more normal, where we had this and then that wick. But on other alts it was like crazy moves, up and then down, basically wiping out everyone But because of that move, we had this deep wick, which already took like extreme liquidity. So for the Model 2, there is not really a clean POI, but I would be looking like maybe for the wick fill in this case, which is basically the same as we did here, but that wick already took out that extreme liquidity. But if price comes back, let's say before taking the high, retraces back here, taking out this local sell side liquidity, then taps into this demand and breaks structure back to bullish, then I'm super interested in longs back to the range high and potentially beyond. So that's mainly what I'm looking at for ETH. Could it also reject from this supply? Could be, but then I would also look at like that you need a super clean internal range where you say that this is your, okay, then you have already 1, 2, 3, but then you also need to break below this low to confirm it. So that's not really an actional setup. So I would more just look at the range high, which is where people have their stop loss. And probably a lot of people have their stop loss at this high already, because they're too greedy to put it here. So I think from here to here you have like a lot of liquidations that come in, and then it can pump pretty hard again. So on ETH also looking at the main range and then see if the triggers come there. You can play it locally, but just know what to do. Got an alert of PTC, make it new high. So yeah, then I will not be looking at this local anymore. So this Model 2 played out. Now main eyes on this liquidity, how it gets taken, and the range high. Then hype, also need to zoom out a bit because hype is into new all-time highs. So basically this was the range. Where we have at the 2. And price basically at the deviation threshold. Although I think from here we might see price capped a bit. But I think we will maybe just form a bigger range here and then from there and then decide if price wants to go for a new breakout or not. Which I think eventually is likely. But I think we can get some local ranges here that create the bigger range. That then create like the bigger range, and then maybe if we are truly blessed we get a reaccumulation and then this can just continue higher. But for now definitely bullish until proven otherwise. But locally we have a level to look at for shorts. Again, shorts are definitely not the main play because they are counter trend, so you should not really focus on them too much. But we basically have like here range high, range low. We deviated the high, broke structure back to bearish, right there, right here. So pretty good bearish break, leaving behind some supply zones. So price now already took quite some sell side liquidity before reversing up. There is also quite a strong move up, so you preferably get like slow price action and then move into supply, clean break. But if you get all those triggers, that can still be just a internal Model 2. Can also always be Model 1 of course, but a Model 2, because now we broke structure to bearish right here. The main idea is to look for a higher, lower high from here. So then you can just pull your confluences, supply zones right there and the FIB. And then if they align, which they will probably do, yeah. Then you have this as a super clean POI to look for potential shorts, but then again you still need that clean structure into the POI, then your structure confirmation, and then you can decide to take the trade or not. It's counter trend, so it can also easily be invalidated. But even here, if the setup is there and it triggers, you can play shorts, but obviously they need to be clean. But for here also the market often just can be super bullish, and because it's bullish it wants to throw these moves, because big players also want to accumulate or get in more, or just market makers want to grab liquidity where they can. So they know that if they pull this off, they can wipe out the late longs, start buying here again, and then you go from distribution into reaccumulation, and those are the easier plays. But there's no reason to not play this potential move from the range high back to the range low, and then from here look for longs again. So alert set for high inside these PYs, and then see if we can get a potential lower high for a short, which could turn a short into a long. And here we can already see, let's first get rid of the drawings, that everyone, like if you're all day on Twitter or like on X right now, it will feel like you're missing out and everyone is continuously printing and stuff. But they don't tell you, like if you read on X, I've seen nobody talk about these moves, where almost all alts, like here, on hype it's a 12 move down, but on like other coins, like here, like nobody is telling you about this. But if you are in a position on Tao, and you get an 80% big down, then it doesn't matter from where you started, but the chances that you're wiped out in such a move is pretty fucking big. However, these flushes are bullish, because they basically reset all the late positions, and then oftentimes after that you get a little slower price action, but more times than not you continue to break out after that. So for example on Tao, I was looking for longs, still am. Oh, we did take this low. Okay, so basically what we had here over the weekend was a super tiny deviation move, and these are in the bullish market niches where you want to focus on. So here we basically have low, like a very tiny range, but this is why the volatility right now is so good, because we have low, we have high, we basically have here a local model 1 distribution. It's probably not tradable, maybe it was, no, it doesn't seem so, because your break only comes in here, but from there you, like this basically equal, so I don't count it, but then you deviate your lows and you break structure back to bullish. And these are basically the triggers you want to look at. I was not behind the screen, so I could not take advantage of this. But if you are expecting higher prices and get these local deviation moves with a break back to bullish, then those can be long triggers. And after that you can also see the price rallied pretty hard from there. Basically going into this supply, rejecting from there. So this morning I had mapped out this as the new local range. Low, high, and then we have this. And I had an alert here, but I went running, so probably that alert went off when I was in my run. But also here you can look for, does it, oh my god. You guys see this? That's like another model 2 reaccumulation. And this is where context becomes really important, because you can also think, oh, this is also a distribution. But keep in mind, are you trending up or trending down? And then the longs make much more sense than the shorts. So here you should not really focus on the distributions, or you need to be in a super clean POI, let's say the range high or super clean supply POI, and then get a distribution. Then they can play out. But if you are in the middle of nowhere, you should focus here on the accumulations. So here we got a model 2 reaccumulation, because we at range low took out the low, broke structure right here back to bullish. So then we expect a higher low for a higher high, taking out extreme liquidity or extreme demand. And we can see that we took out both extreme liquidity and tapped into extreme demand. Was there, however, an entry confirmation? Yeah, in this case, like as I said more often, like what matters to me is that there is some structure. So right here I would say this is like not too wild of a pullback, but it shows pullback and then down. So then I would say, even though it's on the 1 minute, this is a valid break because it's in line with all the rest. So then you have right here basically bullish bulls. This could have been a long after break. Let's say you just watch and see those wicks and then enter. Stop loss right there, first target, your range high. And because you are now in a bullish market, you can extend your TPs. So you can, for example, take 50% at the technical target and then let the rest run for obvious liquidity levels, which for example is then this former high, or you can target that high over the weekend. But these are these happen often, like probably too many to take advantage of, and that is why we could get more value if we all start tracking these and sharing them in the groups. Because yeah, look at this. This is just a reaccumulation, too clean to not take advantage of, but it's simply impossible to do alone. Then ZEC, also an interesting chart. Took out all-time high. Was it all-time high? Yeah, I believe so. So this is the massive high time frame chart. Let's see if he wants to load. Where it made a new all-time high, so crazy pump. And this is basically very similar to BTC, or like different, but here we have high, low, and then now a new break. So this whole zone is now range demand. So could be test and then higher low from higher high. And then this is the more refined demand in case we retest it. But for now, price is into new all-time highs, super strong. So preferably we get some reaccumulations, which we almost got. But yeah, what's a bit we have this crazy wick here as well. So you can count them in or not. I have not counted them in right here. So here you see it as step 2, break of structure, also move. So basically all the examples I've been sharing right now have been 2-tap models with a break, and they went directly into new highs. So here you can see it again. We have range low, we take out the range low, we break this structure back to bullish, and that technically confirms this as your deviation with a likely move back into your high. So you not always now get your super clean third tap. What price did though here is make tap 1, tap 2, tap 3, break internal right here and also here. So this is a very dangerous one because we are in all-time high territory, but we are seeing signs of absorption right here, and we are at the deviation threshold. So if there is going to be a retracement back to the lows, for example, it should happen from around here, with this being the third tap, so already a clean invalidation. So right here I'm looking for potential move into extreme liquidity. If we break that back to bearish, then this is simply a trade I have to take, because it is a 1, 2, 3 into potential model 1 into model 2 distribution, and eventually probably these merge, so then it's just a model 2, or could be a model 1 if we make one more high and then break. But at this point I'm more interested in shorts, to take it back to the lower part of the range and then look for longs again. Simple short into longs. And locally we are creating liquidity right here, so it makes sense to look for potential shorts here, but the triggers need to be super clean. So that's it for ZEC. And then last one is PB, because it has a super clean range as well. So right here we have range high, range low, again sweep of the lows into demand, right here, internal break, and then pushing higher. So right here, in proven otherwise, also expecting a move into the range high level. But here we could look for model 2. So if we get like move down here into demand, break structure back to bullish, then this could also just be a 1, 2, 3 model 2 reaccumulation for new highs. And then see what happens from here. If we distribute, then potentially just play the range rotations. But we have to see how that goes. But these are the main charts I have on my radar right now, which I made this morning. After that I went running, because I wanted to be here during New York. So already the sport and all the other stuff. And now see if we can get some clean trades. Like right here, we have now 1, 2, 3. So basically this is now pushing above. So the distribution is filled, which means that the accumulation has won. So then you can think, oh shit, I'm now too late. But you can also think that we had the range, that we now broken out of the range. Not entirely yet, but I think this will just be a broken range. So then that means that this potentially accumulation, break. Can we get a retest before higher? And that could already have happened because we had that little retest here before higher. But we have New York, you often get some flushes eventually. So then you can just mark out the levels where you can potentially look for retest and higher. So then you can map out your range, the demand zones within that range, which is here like clean 50-minute demand. That wick, I like it, and we can then, as always, pull the volume profile from here to the breakout point right there, and then we see that we have the value area high overlapping with the with this demand POI. So this is where I'm interested in potential continuation setups. Break, come back lower, tap into it here, break structure back to bullish, right here. And you can look for longs, invalidation right there, and then let it run to see where it wants to go. And that's why I shared in the group, like I cannot update every little stuff because you can already see how quickly this goes. You can think, oh, there's a potential model 1, but then it's retest, broken, and then you have to directly switch bias from instead of a local accumulation into distribution, it's now a local accumulation with the breakout, so then it can be a breakout, retest, higher. Basically, market is now moving too fast to sugarcoat everything. Let's see. Okay, so I think most of it is clear. One chart I want to go through, because we have these wicks on, like here. These wicks are fucking crazy, but even on like Ondo, and those wicks will come more often. So you have to be prepared that if they come, then basically the market is reset, and then it's safer to enter. But if we already knew that if you get these crazy moves up without creating any demand, it can be wiped out eventually, and that's what we had over the weekend. And those are wild moves, taking out many people. And for example, on Ondo, look, it's a crazy example, but imagine just buying at the lows before that rally started, and then you think you have money, people enter longs, stuff like this, having their stop loss right here in profit or whatever, and then you pump like 33% only to be wiped out of your position because your trigger when your stop loss gets hit in such a wick can be horrible, to get fully wiped out, and then see price later make new highs, because it's likely from here we're now forming some sort of a range, and then likely you see new highs. But this happened on many altcoins, but that's also where nobody talks about. But you have to be careful for these. So always set stop losses and stuff, because otherwise a move like this, if you are on cross margin on your account and you play with like 5x, then a move like this can wipe out your full account. Even if you play with a 3.3x, then you are wiped out. So always use stop losses and don't start thinking, oh, it's a bull market, so I don't have to follow any rules anymore. Because believe me, in so many bull markets, people lose everything with these moves. Because they simply think, oh, it will go higher, I don't need the stop loss. And then 5 minutes you do not watch, you get liquidated and price makes new highs. And then you don't have any money anymore and the market moves higher. And then you get into a negative thinking pattern where shit gets really, really hard. Because then you think, oh, I need to catch up. You increase the leverage, you increase the amount you play with, and then you get wrecked again and the market just spins higher. So these moves will come more often than not, so be prepared. However, now it's good that we had one, so probably we are good for some time. But yeah, look on the high time frame. We have been in this range for 108 days, and we wicked out that low with this move down. Super, super nasty move. Okay, so BTC going full ham. Let's see the chat. Kijo survived the Tau move. Solid. Yeah, it was crazy. I believe it was just in the weekly open, so it's often the time where things get Okay, so I think everything is clear. We are now pumping to the highs, so then we have to see what happens there. But as always, you want to see slow moves into your range high. Right now we have a super aggressive move, so be very careful with playing short. And basically on the other coins, all the levels I mentioned are valid. And if you guys have some models you are tracking, share them in the group, then we can just benefit from it. Other than that, I think with this BTC move, could have a new funded, but I have to check if I got the mail. BTC, oh here, USDT. Yeah, right now it doesn't really look like the Model 1 will play out, but price is in discount, or like in extreme demand right here. So we'll have an alert here, which is now 50-minute structure. So we can see what happens here. Maybe take the low, but if it's flip structure back to bullish, it could be trigger for reversals. But other than that, looking pretty weak still. Teamwork, yes, teamwork makes the dream work. So, and there are so many setups, it's crazy. So let's see if we can move it together. I quickly want to see, because we now cleared out our poor high, as you can see. So let's have a quick look what locally is happening. Yeah, okay. I think New York could be pretty wild, because from the start of the day, ramping open interest going up, price pushing higher, market already bullish. So I think a lot of people will enter longs here, which could get violent. Either it keeps pushing higher, but if too many people start longing the top, then they will be used as liquidity, and then you get those fast reversals. So and because it's Monday, I have to see how it plays out. Okay, other than that, I do not have much more to say at this point. I'm going to take a quick shower after the run, and then I'm going to be locked in for the New York. So I'm just trading and watching the charts, and therefore I can also just watch the Discord. So if there are setups or questions or I don't know what, just feel free to